Open a beehive and you'll find one of the most precise structures in the natural world. Rank after rank of six-sided cells and walls meeting at exactly 120 degrees, packed in so perfectly that there are no gaps, no wasted space, no leftover material. Thousands of bees, they're working in the dark, without a blueprint, without a foreman, without a single ruler between them. And they build a structure so mathematically optimal that humans didn't finally prove why it was so optimal until the year 1999. Welcome back to Solaris Sessions. I'm Melanie, the founder of Solaris Method, the strategic and the sacred. And today we read the hexagon, and it's the episode for anyone who feels business might be leaking energy everywhere. The honeycomb is a masterclass in doing the most with the least. Okay, the science first, because the why in this one is absolutely gorgeous. The bees have a problem to solve. They need to store the maximum amount of honey using the minimum amount of wax. And wax is expensive, and a bee has to eat something like 8 ounces of honey to produce 1 ounce of wax. So every scrap of wax wasted is honey burned. So the question is, what shape tiles a flat surface with no gaps and holds the most volume and uses the least wall to do it? There are only 3 regular shapes that tile a plane with no gaps at all. So that's triangles, squares, and hexagons. Of those 3, the hexagon wins. It encloses the most amount of area for the least perimeter. In plain terms, for the same amount of wall, a hexagon holds more than a square and more than a triangle. And mathematicians long suspected the hexagon was the most efficient possible way to divide a surface into equal cells. And in 1999, a mathematician named Thomas Hales, he finally proved it, and it's now called the Honeycomb theorem. The bees had been living inside a proof for millions of years that we finally caught up to. They aren't decorating and making these things pretty. They're actually economizing at the level of optimization that we could barely formalize until recently. So notice the theme building across this whole series. The sacred shape and the efficient solution. They keep turning out to be the same shape. The hexagon, it's in the snowflakes, it's in the eyes of insects, in basalt columns, in the packing of bubbles. Nature reaches for it again and again, and it's not for beauty, but it's because it's the answer. The beauty is just what the efficiency looks like from the outside. Okay, so now the strategy. This is the systems episode. Most businesses are not built like honeycomb. They're actually built more like a big junk drawer. So things get added one at a time. Whenever a need pops up, a new tool here, a new process there, a workaround on top of another workaround, and nothing shares a wall with anything else. Every task is its own little island with its own wasted effort around it. The founder is producing 8 ounces of honey worth of energy to make 1 ounce of actual result. And then they're wondering why they are so exhausted. The hexagon teaches a different way to build shared walls. That's the secret of this whole episode, shared walls. In a honeycomb, no cell has its own private wall. Every wall is shared between 2 cells. That shared structure is the entire source of the efficiency. Nothing is duplicated. And that is exactly what a good business system does. It finds the shared walls. So let me make this concrete. Here's an example. You write one strong piece of content. For example, this piece is about the hexagon. So instead of being a single cell, it shares walls. So the hexagon could be a theme that I use for my emails. I could make 3 short videos about hexagons. I could give a speech about it. It could be part of my FAQs, and then the AI can pick up on that. So it's one effort, many cells, shared walls, or you build one clear onboarding process. And that onboarding process, it shares a wall with your training, which shares a wall with quality standard, which shares a wall with your brand promise, each reinforcing the next instead of being rebuilt from scratch. So this is what people really mean when they say systems, not more structure. It's a shared structure with systems and cells that hold each other up. Now, here's the strength part, which matters just as much as the efficiency. A hexagonal structure isn't only economical, it's actually very strong. Those shared walls distribute the load beautifully, which is why the honeycomb pattern shows up in aircraft panels and any like lightweight engineering out there that needs maximum strength for minimum weight. A business built on shared interlocking systems is exactly the same. It's light to run and hard to break. Pull one founder out for a week and it holds because the cells support each other and it's not just the person holding it up in the middle. So, the strategic question the hexagon hands you is this: where are you building single cells that should be shared walls? Where are you doing a thing once and throwing away the structure when you could build it so the next thing leans on it? Standardize the repeatable so your creativity is spent only where creativity is actually needed. The bee doesn't reinvent the cell each time. The cell is standardized, which is precisely what frees the colony to produce so much, so abundantly. Standardization isn't the enemy of a soulful business. It's the wax discipline that lets the honey flow. And this, by the way, is the whole logic. This, by the way, is the whole logic of a company operating system. A business that runs from an ordered structure of shared usable parts instead of from the founder's overloaded memory. Honeycomb at the scale of a company. And I have a really great system that I set up for companies for this, the second brain, and I map the colors of each aspect of it to the various chakras. And so it gets out of your brain into a system that's shareable. But that's another thing. Anyway, let's dive into the correspondence. Where is the hexagon in your own life? The mirror here is energy. The bee's whole problem is not wasting a precious hard-won resource. And your precious hard-won resource is your energy. It's your attention, your life force, the finite amount of you that there is in a day. So the honest question is, where is your life all single cells and no shared walls? Where are you spending 8 units of effort to get 1 unit of result? Contemplate on that. For a lot of us, it shows up as friction that never got designed out. The same decision made painfully fresh every single day because we never built the cell for it. Things like what to eat, when to work, what to say no to. The same emotional labor spent over and over on a relationship or a commitment that drains wax and returns no honey. Or a life where nothing shares a wall. So everything costs full price all the time. And the tiredness that comes from that, it isn't laziness or weakness. It's an efficiency problem. It's a wax problem. It's the reason that Steve Jobs wore the same thing every day. He built a hexagon around the decision-making involved with what to wear each day. And I know other founders do that as well. So that's just one example. The hexagon's gift to your personal life is permission to build cells. Gentle structure that removes friction so your energy goes to what matters. A morning rhythm so you're not redeciding your whole day at 7 a.m. A few firm boundaries that share a wall. So one clear no protects a dozen future yeses. And this is not rigidity. The bees are not rigid. They're free. And they're free precisely because that structure holds so much for them. Structure built well is what abundance stands on. So the practice this week is simple. Find one hexagon, one place in your business or your life where you're building single cells, and design one shared wall. Take one thing you do repeatedly and make it a reusable structure, one template, one rhythm, one standard, so that the next 10 times the wall's already there for you. So just one. The bees didn't build the hive in a day. They built one perfect cell, and then they let it share a wall with the next. So just focus on that one cell. Do the most with the least. Let your systems hold each other up. That's the honeycomb, and that's how businesses and a life stops leaking and starts to make money. In the next episode, we step back and look at time itself. We're going to look at the seasons and why demanding perpetual summer from your business is the fastest road to burnout and what to plant instead. I'm Melanie. This is Solaris Method, the strategic and the sacred. And find everything you want to find out about what I do at solarismethod.com. Share the walls, save the wax, let the honey flow. Contemplate on that, clean up and simplify your life, and you'll have so much more energy to work with. Be well.